We'll pretend for the cameras. And when they're off, that's when I'll stop pretending. The words hit me before the door actually swings open. They hang in the air of the dressing room, stale with cheap coffee and powder, like the aftertaste of a bad punchline. I sit in front of the mirror with its tired bulbs and unpin the mic from my shirt collar, careful not to rip the fabric. I can't afford another invoice for wardrobe damages. Not today. Not after that interview. Adrian, you left them bloodless, my agent Margot says. And her voice is both proud and furious in that way only a lifelong spin doctor can manage. Unfortunately, you bled out in the process. I didn't faint on camera, I say. Isn't that the only metric that matters now? You didn't faint, she agrees, pacing behind me, heels clicking like an anxious metronome. You flinched. They saw it. The ratings will see it. The internet will make it a GIF. I rub at the skin where the mic sat, raw and a little warm, and meet my own eyes in the mirror. They look like someone else's eyes, someone who wants to climb through the glass and run. The door opens and shuts without a knock, a hush following like the breath everyone takes when the music drops. Margot stops pacing. I see him in the reflection first, tall, the silhouette precise, a suit that fits like a secret, a tie the same red as a warning. He moves with the kind of control that makes you wonder how long he's been practicing. He's not alone. A lanky man with a tablet tries to fade into the wallpaper. PR, I guess. A new one. They rotate in and out of my life like interns in a hospital drama. The tall man smiles. It's not a full smile. It's the suggestion of one, like a fox testing a lock with its teeth. We'll pretend for the cameras, he repeats, and the reflection of his eyes in the mirror is too bright for this room. I turn on the stool, and when they're off, that's when I'll stop pretending. Margot recovers first. Adrian, meet Seren Vale. Seren, I know who he is, Seren says, still watching me. He's the man who answers questions with jokes and keeps the last real answer under his tongue. I snort. And you're the man who interrupts dressing rooms like you own the building. I don't own this one, he says lightly. Yet. Wonderful, Margot mutters. Can we sit? We're on a clock and the internet does not sleep. We sit, well, they sit. I stay perched on the stool, elbows planted on my knees, every muscle humming with the leftover adrenaline of being asked on live TV if I'm still relevant. PR guy clears his throat. I'm Jay, I'm here to facilitate. Translation, I say. You're here to tell me why I should attach myself to a stranger on purpose when I've done it accidentally plenty of times. Jay looks to Seren. Seren looks only at me, because, Seren says, it's easier to survive a storm if you choose which balcony you're seen on. That's not how storms work, I say, and the corner of his mouth lifts. Margot slides a folder across the vanity toward me. Here's the pitch. We lean into the narrative people already want. You and Seren, private but not too private, select sightings, a magazine spread, one red carpet handhold. We control the story arc. And the ending? I ask. The ending is that your opening weekend doubles, she shoots back, and your next project looks too big to fail. I flip through the folder, photos of me that don't look like me. Seren in profile at some gala, a knife of a jawline, a constellation of flashbulbs exploding around him, headlines arranged like tarot cards. I've seen worse plans. I've also seen what happens when plans go feral. What's in it for you? I say to Seren, that suggestion of a smile again. Everything, he says, too softly to be smug. And maybe nothing at all. Margot's phone buzzes. She ignores it, that's how I know it's bad. Adrian, your numbers dipped after the interview. We need a move. This is a good move. I should be thinking about the math. The contracts, the image rehab, the way people love a new storyline when the old one goes sour. Instead, I'm watching how Seren's hands rest on his knees, relaxed. How his presence makes the air feel more charged, like the moment before you touch something you shouldn't. You're very sure of yourself, I say. I'm very sure of you, he says, and I hate that I feel it like a hand closing around a falling glass before it shatters. Jay takes over with bullet points. There would be some staged events, but also room for organic. Organic, I echo. Nothing says organic like a calendar. Adrian, Margot says, warning and plea. I close the folder. Fine. Let's hear the part where I sign away what's left of my piece and get in return. What exactly? Attention, Seren says, like the word tastes good. But on your terms. And yours? He tilts his head. My terms are very simple. Show up, stand close, let me take the glare when it hurts you. He has no right to say it like that. Like he's familiar with my hurts and their timing. My laugh comes out thinner than I want. You enjoy the glare, do you? I thrive in it, he says, and there's no apology. Only an honesty that feels like stepping out into the sun after too long indoors. Margot rubs her temples. Okay, we'll need a list of deliverables for the first month. Jay? Already drafted, Jay chirps, swiping on his tablet. A rooftop restaurant, a charity event, one candid coffee run. The magazine cover is a maybe, but they're circling. I imagine holding a paper cup, cameras peeking over car doors like diet wolves. I imagine the comments. I imagine my mother texting, "Are you eating enough?" As if hunger is the only kind of lack you can see. Seren stands. He's closer than I realized. Close enough that his cologne is something like bergamot cut with lightning. I don't know what lightning smells like. I just know that's it. I'm not a good actor off the set, I tell him. I get bored. I improvise. Then improvise, he says, stepping even closer. He reaches, slowly, visible, the way you approach a stray cat, and touches the back of my shoulder where my shirt is wrinkled from the mic pack. It's nothing. It's everything. The contact is a spark, a low-voltage tremor that skates across my skin and buries itself somewhere inconvenient. I go very still. Behind us I hear Margot's inhale, and Jay's too loud notification ping. Seren takes his hand away as if he didn't notice anything at all. He noticed. I know he did, because his eyes, when he meets mine again, are brighter than any tired bulb on this mirror. Contract first, I say, aiming for dry and landing on horse. Of course, he says. I'm very rule-abiding. Margot laughs, a sharp thing. You'll forgive me if I get that promise in writing. Forgiveness is a habit with you, isn't it? Seren asks her, not unkindly. Margot, to her credit, doesn't flinch. Jay passes me a stylus. The tablet screen is already set to the signature page. My name, crisp and serifed, waits at the bottom like a dare. I skim. There's the boilerplate, the NDAs, the optics, the out clauses. An entire vocabulary built to keep people from saying, I'm scared I'll lose myself and call it branding. I sign. The room does a small, satisfied exhale. Great, Margot says, snapping back into motion. We'll coordinate calendars. Adrian, I'll call your stylist. Seren, send over your team's media guidelines. I don't have guidelines, he says. You have something, she says. Instinct, he says, and the way he says it makes me picture standing on the edge of a rooftop, toes against the lip, the city a mouth below. I stand too fast and my stool scrapes the floor. The mirror throws me back my own face. Paler, yes, but steadier than I deserve. Seren's reflection stands behind mine, a fraction taller, like a shadow with better posture. Why me? I ask, because the question has been scratching at the cage of my ribs since the second he walked in. He considers, then answers like he's choosing the cleanest truth in a drawer full of pressed shirts. Because you're tired, and you refuse to lie about it, he says. Because you make even the wrong kind of attention look honest. Because you want to stop running, and no one has told you where to stand. I feel my mouth go dry. And you're gonna tell me? I'm going to stand there first, he says. Margot claps her hands once, the meeting's benediction. Love that for us. Let's move. The paps are still outside. If we give them nothing, they'll invent something. If we give them something, we control the edit. We file out. The corridor hums, distant cameras buzz like gossiping bees. At the stage door, Margot peeks through the glass slit. 6, she says. No, 7. They multiply when you look at them. Ready? Jay asks, too bright. No, I say, and push the door. Flash. The early evening air is cold enough to make my teeth ache. Voices brim the alley, my name, his name, Questions like arrows with glitter tips. Seren steps into the light like it's his preferred habitat, and instinctively, because that's apparently my new religion, I edge closer to him. His hand doesn't find mine. It doesn't have to. The electric phantom of his touch is still there, warm between my shoulder blades. We walk together. The cameras eat us whole. For the first time in months, I look straight into a lens and don't feel like prey. We're pretending, I tell myself, and the lie tastes stranger than I expect. The rooftop restaurant smells like money, like truffle oil, chilled wine, and the kind of polished wood that doesn't creak when you walk on it. It's the kind of place you book for marriage proposals, hostile takeovers, or both. At this hour, the dining room is nearly empty except for a corner table lit by a single pendant lamp. The rest is all shadow and skyline. Seren is already there when I arrive, his jacket draped over the back of his chair like a lazy cat. The city glitters behind him, and for a second I think the view is a little dimmer than his eyes. I decide not to say that out loud. Adrian. He gestures to the seat across from him. You found it. You rented out the whole floor, I say, pulling the chair back. It's not exactly hard to spot. I like privacy when negotiating. The menu is closed in front of him. Of course it is. He's not here for the food. Wine? I'll stick to water. I'm trying to avoid doing anything regrettable on a school night. He smiles at that. But there's a flicker in his expression. Something that says he'd rather I made regrettable choices, just to see what they looked like on me. He waits until the waiter is gone before he speaks again. Here's how I see it. We start small. A rooftop restaurant. Tonight, obviously. A charity gala next week. A handful of candid photographs, curated for maximum effect. A magazine spread by the end of the month. Candid, I repeat. You mean the kind where the photographer has to text you in advance so you can look surprised? Exactly. His smile sharpens. We'll give them exactly what they want to believe. I lean back. You make it sound like we're plotting a coup. Public opinion is the only throne worth sitting on these days, he says, as though it's a casual observation. The waiter brings my water and his wine. Seren swirls it lazily, the glass catching the light like a lens flare. We'll need to sell intimacy without overselling it. A hand at your back. My jacket over your shoulders when it's too cold. Whispers in crowded rooms. I arch a brow. And the kisses? They'll come, he says smoothly, when the story requires them. I snort into my glass. You make this sound like a cheap drama. He tilts his head, unoffended. Would you rather it be an expensive one? I'd rather it be neither, thanks. But then, he says, leaning forward slightly, we'd be wasting the potential. It's unnerving how easily he says we, like it's already been decided we're on the same side. I flip open the leather folder waiting beside my plate. Inside, a clean, terrifyingly thorough breakdown. Events, possible headlines, even leak strategies. There's a timeline for everything, down to which week my Instagram should feature a grainy shot of his watch on my wrist. You've done this before, I say. He takes a sip of wine, watching me over the rim. I know how to be visible, that's one word for it. He ignores that, or maybe stores it away for later. The point is to control the narrative. We feed them just enough to keep them hungry, and when they think they know everything, they'll know nothing, I finish, unable to help myself. Right, very Machiavelli meets Vogue. He chuckles low. You see, you're already getting it. I glance over the city. The wind up here is sharper, the kind that makes your skin feel awake. It occurs to me that I should be more guarded. This man, this deal, the way he's studying me as though my reactions are part of the contract. But I'm tired, and the way he speaks has a rhythm that's easy to lean into. So, I say, what happens if I go off script? Then we improvise. His gaze doesn't waver. I'm good at improvising. That's comforting? It should be. The waiter returns with 2 plates neither of us ordered. Seren thanks him like an old friend and doesn't touch the food. I take a bite to be polite, and it's so good I have to stop myself from making a sound. Seren notices, of course. You're dangerous when you like something, he says, almost to himself. And you're dangerous all the time, I counter. True, he says without blinking. There's a beat where we just watch each other. The city hums below us, the wine in his glass catches another shard of light. It's like the scene in a film where you know something important is about to happen. Maybe not loud, but permanent. You haven't asked me anything personal, I say finally. Should I? Most people do. I'm not most people. The way he says it is a warning dressed as a compliment. The contract appears from his briefcase, crisp, white, inevitable. He slides it toward me, a pen resting across the top like an afterthought. Read it. Ask me what you need to. Then sign it. I skim the pages. It's almost identical to the one in the dressing room, except for one clause at the bottom, in neat, deliberate handwriting. All terms are subject to mutual instinct. I glance up. Instinct? It's what makes partnerships work. Or fail. That's not legally binding. Neither is trust, he says. I sign. He doesn't watch the pen move, he watches my face. And when I'm done, he reaches across the table and places his hand over mine. Not a squeeze, just a press of his palm, warm and deliberate. There's a subtle pressure there, like a seal, as though he's locking something into place that has nothing to do with paper. The touch lingers a fraction longer than it should, then he withdraws, leaving the ghost of heat behind. Congratulations, Seren says softly. You've just made the smartest mistake of your career. I laugh, but it's quieter than I intend. And you? Oh, he says, leaning back with that fox's smile. I just made mine too. The studio smells like hot lights and hairspray, the scent of controlled chaos. Assistants dart between racks of clothes, photographers check light meters like surgeons prepping for an operation, and somewhere a speaker is pumping out music with just enough bass to keep everyone's adrenaline steady. I'm sitting in the makeup chair, a stranger's fingers dusting powder along my jawline, when Seren appears in the mirror behind me. He's already camera ready, hair immaculate, suit crisp, not a single thread daring to be out of place. He doesn't look like he's here for a shoot. He looks like he owns the magazine. You're early, I say, meeting his gaze in the reflection. I'm invested. He steps closer, the scent of his cologne cutting through the chemical haze. Besides, you're more interesting before you put the mask on. I raise an eyebrow. This is me putting the mask on. Exactly. The stylist fluffs my hair one last time and scurries away. A call rings out from the set. First look, everyone. I stand, smoothing the lapel of the jacket they've put me in. Charcoal gray, slim, fit, safe, until I see Seren in his own ensemble, black with a hint of midnight blue, the kind of color that changes when the light moves. The photographer positions us on a minimalist set, a backdrop of soft cream, 2 chairs we won't use. We want intimacy, she says, adjusting her lens. But not saccharine. Think more sharp romance. Seren doesn't wait for further instruction. His hand slides to my waist, pulling me in until my side fits against his. The warmth of his palm seeps through the fabric, and then he leans, just slightly, so that his face hovers near my neck. That too close for you? He murmurs, low enough the mic won't catch. Yes, I say, not moving. No. His breath ghosts my skin in something that could be laughter, or something else. The camera clicks in rapid bursts. Beautiful, the photographer calls. Adrian, chin up. Seren, hold that. Yes, perfect. Between takes, we shift. I step back, and Seren's eyes track me with a faint smirk. You stiffen every time I touch you, he says. That's because you're trying to make it look real, I reply. I'm just trying to make it look like I'm not thinking about how real it feels. Ah, he says, like he's filed that away. The assistant adjusts the lighting. We're told to sit for the next sequence. Seren behind me, his arms draped casually over the back of the chair, one hand resting on my shoulder. It's a position that's meant to feel staged, but there's nothing casual about the way his thumb moves, just once, tracing the edge of my collarbone. The photographer notices. Hold that. That's it. Another flurry of clicks. My pulse is doing its own metronome now. During a break, we step off set, each given bottled water like racehorses between laps. I sip mine slowly, trying not to think about the heat in my skin. Seren leans against the wall beside me. You're a quick study, he says. For what? Pretending to like you? for knowing where to stand so people believe it. His gaze drops to my mouth, then lifts again. Although you may be better at the first part than you think. I make a show of rolling my eyes, but it's flimsy cover. You're exhausting, and you're energizing. He says it like it's a fact, not a compliment. The final setup is close, literally. We're told to face each other, only inches apart, eyes locked. No smiling, no overt gestures. Just tension, bottled and ready for the camera. The photographer counts down. Seren's gaze doesn't flicker. Neither does mine, though it's an effort. I can hear my own breathing, steady but slower than it should be. His mouth curves almost imperceptibly. The shutter fires again and again. Got it, the photographer declares. We're done. I step back first, pretending it's just relief. Seren doesn't pretend to hide his satisfaction. By the time I'm changed back into my own clothes, the first teaser shots are already hitting social media. Someone from the crew is clearly feeding the machine. My phone vibrates with notifications. A headline flashes, Adrian Cole's new flame? Exclusive behind-the-scenes shots heat up the rumor mill. I scroll through the images. Some look exactly like what they are, two professionals hitting their marks. But a few look like something else entirely. A certain tilt of Seren's head toward mine. The way my hand in one frame isn't pushing him away but curling slightly toward him. For a second I forget they're supposed to be fake. When I glance up, Seren is watching me from across the room, phone in hand, the faintest glimmer of triumph in his expression. Happy with your work? I ask, slipping the phone into my pocket. I'm happy with yours, he says, ours. And somehow, walking out of the studio beside him into the late afternoon light, I can't decide which parts we've rehearsed, and which we haven't. The producer's penthouse is exactly what you'd expect from a man whose credits include 3 Oscar nominations and a scandal involving a helicopter, gold light, glass walls, and more champagne than oxygen. The moment Seren and I step off the private elevator, the noise swells toward us, music pulsing low and smooth, conversations spilling into laughter, the occasional clink of crystal. We're an entrance, not just 2 people arriving. I know it because every head turns. Seren's hand finds the small of my back like it's always belonged there, and the crowd parts the way it does for the bride and groom in a wedding you weren't invited to but wish you were. Smile, he murmurs as we move through the room. I'm smiling. Smile like you mean it. I glance at him sidelong. You mean like you do? His grin doesn't falter. Exactly. On the surface, we're perfect. My suit tailored within an inch of its life, his cufflinks catching the light just enough to suggest he's above noticing. We accept flutes of champagne we barely sip from, pose for photos with the producer, an older man in velvet who keeps telling me to look dangerous, and laugh in all the right places. From across the room, we're the image people will talk about tomorrow, Seren leaning close to say something only I can hear, my head tipping slightly toward his. The picture sells itself. It's when we step away from the noise, toward a quieter alcove behind one of the floor-to-ceiling curtains, that the air changes. The music is still there, muffled, and the glow of the city bleeds through the glass like a living thing. Seren positions himself so we're half hidden. Too close. His voice drops, warm and quiet against the shell of my ear. You look, he says, like you want me to kiss you. It lands in my chest like a thrown stone. I swallow, the reflex sharp. Is that in the script? He tilts his head. Do you want it to be? The city hums behind us. My pulse hums louder. There's a moment where I think I could step back, make a joke, push the whole thing back into safe territory. But I don't. Then, flash. The light is so sudden I blink against it. Seren doesn't move, his gaze still on mine, but I hear the shuffle of feet retreating and the faint click of a camera being tucked away. Was that? I start. An opportunity, he says. Let them wonder. I should be annoyed. I should tell him I don't like being blindsided, but instead I'm thinking about how that photo will look. Framed just right, the angle catching our proximity, my expression caught halfway between surprise and something I can't name. When we rejoin the party, I feel the weight of eyes on us differently. Not as part of the crowd, but as a story that's already being written in whispers and posted in captions. Seren handles it like breathing. Light conversation, the occasional toast, a magnetic ease that draws people in and keeps them just far enough away. I keep catching myself watching him, noticing the way he listens when someone else speaks, like the words are puzzle pieces he'll use later, noticing how his hand will ghost toward me when he wants to draw me into the frame, then retreat before it's too obvious. At one point, a publicist I vaguely recognize leans in to tell me, "You two are electric together," and I realize she means it both as marketing and prophecy. Hours later, when the crowd has thinned and the champagne has given way to espresso martinis, Seren and I are on the balcony, the city laid out like a circuit board. "That was reckless," I say, meaning the camera flash. "It was effective," he says. "You don't always get to choose how people read it." "I never do," he replies. "That's the point. You just give them the pieces and let them build the picture they want." I shake my head, but I don't move away from him. The distance between us tonight has been measured in inches, and it's starting to feel like the only real part of the arrangement. Somewhere below, a siren wails, and for a moment the sound stitches the night together. I glance at Seren, and he's watching me. Not the crowd, not the skyline. Me. And just like that, I'm not entirely sure where the script ends and the rest begins. My apartment has always been my safe place, small but warm, with enough books stacked along the shelves to make me feel like I'm surrounded by quieter, kinder voices. The kind that don't ask for photographs or tell me who to stand next to. Tonight, it's raining just enough to blur the city lights outside the windows, the sound pattering against the glass like an old metronome. I'm halfway through making tea when Margot calls. I put her on speaker and let her voice fill the space. "You're quiet," she says after the usual hello. "I'm at home. That's what home is for." "I've been thinking," she begins, "and I know this is bad, about your arrangement with Seren," I say, though we both know she's never called it that without air quotes in her tone. "Yes. I've been getting calls. Whispers. He's dangerous." "Dangerous how?" "He's not exactly lurking in alleyways with a knife. Not that kind of dangerous," she snaps. "The kind that ruins people. Careers, reputations, bank accounts, you name it. He's done this before, Adrian. You should end the contract before you're too deep." I stare into my mug. Too deep in what? PR? "We signed up for this. You signed up to pretend. He's not pretending, and that's the problem. Men like him." She cuts herself off, the sound of typing clattering through the line. "Just think about it. I'd hate to see you dragged down with him." After she hangs up, the apartment feels smaller. I sip my tea, but it tastes flat, like it's been steeped in her warning. The next day I meet Seren at a street cafe near the theater district, the kind with tiny round tables and chairs that wobble on the cobblestones. He's late, which is unusual for him. I'm halfway through my coffee when I spot him coming around the corner, tall, immaculate, and trailed by someone who doesn't belong to our script. The man with him is impossible not to notice. All sharp cheekbones, a sweep of dark hair, and a coat the color of red wine poured over velvet. He walks like he owns whatever ground his shoes touch. When they reach the table, Seren's expression is unreadable. "Adrian," he says. "This is Lucien." "Of course it is," I say before I can stop myself. Lucien smiles like I've just confirmed something for him. "You're even prettier in person. No wonder the tabloids are eating this up." I glance at Seren. "Friend of yours?" "Something like that," Lucien says, taking the chair beside mine without asking. He leans in, the scent of his cologne heavy and deliberate. "We go back. Way back." The implication hangs there, sticky as syrup. Seren orders his coffee without looking at him. Lucien's gaze slides back to me, assessing. "Has he told you what he's like when the cameras are gone?" I keep my voice even. "We're not here for story time." "He won't stop," Lucien says, ignoring me. "He never will. The crowd, the attention, it's not a phase, it's what he is. His eyes narrow, almost pitying. And when he's done with you, he'll find another audience." Seren's tone is velvet with a blade under it. "Lucien." But Lucien isn't finished. "I used to think I was enough for him. I learned fast. You will too." Something cold curls in my stomach. I hate that his words land anywhere near the truth of my own doubts. I push back my chair. "Enjoy your coffee. I've lost my appetite." Seren follows me out, catching up halfway down the street. Rain is just starting to spit against the pavement, and I don't stop walking. "You didn't need to hear that," he says. "Didn't I?" He seemed pretty sure. Lucien is an expert in saying what will hurt the most. "And was he lying?" I ask, finally stopping to face him. About the crowd, about you. His jaw tightens. It's not that simple. That's not a no. The rain is heavier now, catching in my hair, soaking the collar of my jacket. People pass us, umbrellas blooming around them, and we just stand there in the middle of the street, locked in something that feels less like an argument and more like a fault line. I told you what this was, Seren says finally. Right, I say, stepping back, and I told you I was fine pretending. I just didn't think I'd have to compete with the ghosts in your fan club. I turn and walk away before he can answer, though I can feel his gaze on my back the whole way to the corner. The rain doesn't let up, and neither does the knot in my chest. Seren's penthouse is all glass and air, perched so high above the city it feels like we're floating. The skyline sprawls beneath us in glittering lines, the streets like veins carrying the lifeblood of a restless animal. It's late enough that the party noise has dissolved into a muted hum, but the lights, God, the lights are everywhere. He's standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows when I step inside, hands in his pockets, jacket off, sleeves rolled. The image is cinematic. It's also infuriating. Why am I here? I say, skipping hello. You walked out on me yesterday, he answers without turning. I assumed we should finish the conversation without an audience. I drop my coat over the back of his pristine leather sofa. Then let's finish it. Who exactly am I dealing with? Now he turns, and something in his eyes makes the hairs on my arms lift. You already know the answer. You've known it since the first time I touched you. I know you're good at manipulating a crowd, I say. I know you live for the spotlight. That's not an answer. It's the beginning of one. He walks toward the center of the room, slow and deliberate, like he's giving me time to run if I want to. I don't move. I'm not like you, Adrian, he says finally. Not like anyone you've met. I am more and less. My laugh comes out sharper than intended. Wow, you've been reading your own press releases. I feed, he says, ignoring me. On attention, admiration, the collective gaze of a room, a crowd, a city. It's not a habit, it's my nature. The words hang there, and I almost laugh again just to cut them down to size. What, like some kind of fame vampire? Yes. His tone is calm, but there's no humor in it. If you need a metaphor, I draw energy from people noticing me, talking about me, wanting me to be in the frame. I blink. You're serious. I am. Okay, I say slowly, let's pretend for a second I believe you. What happens if no one's watching? He looks past me, toward the city. I weaken, I fade. It's not immediate, but it's unpleasant. Unpleasant like what? A bad hangover? He shakes his head. Like a candle running out of wick, like being erased one line at a time. I swallow before I can stop myself. That's cheerful. It's reality. I pace to the bar and pour myself a drink I don't need. So all this, the parties, the cameras, the perfectly timed appearances, this is just you feeding? Not just, he says. Some of it is strategy, some of it is pleasure. But yes, the attention sustains me. It's the simplest form of survival I've ever known. I take a sip, watching him over the rim. You could have opened with that when we signed the contract. And you would have stayed? Probably not, I admit. Then I didn't. The casual certainty in his voice makes my skin prickle. I set the glass down harder than necessary. So I'm just, what? A particularly juicy headline to keep you from burning out? He crosses the room until he's close enough that I can see the faint reflection of the city lights in his irises. You are not just anything. I could have chosen anyone for this. I chose you. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to make you understand that this is more than utility, I want to argue. To tell him that's exactly what someone would say to make me stay. But there's something in his face, something steady and unguarded, that makes the words stick in my throat. I laugh instead, brittle and too loud. So great, my fake boyfriend's an energy leech. That's exactly the kind of career move my agent would endorse. Your agent doesn't know me, he says softly. Neither do I shoot back. You do, he says. And the quiet conviction in his voice is more unsettling than any of the revelations tonight. We stand there in the half-dark, the city behind him like a crown of lights. Part of me wants to walk out, slam the door, and let the whole thing dissolve into rumor and bad headlines. Another part, the reckless one, wants to ask if it hurts, this fading he's talking about. Instead I say, you can survive without it though. The attention. He exhales slowly. Yes. But it would mean changing, slowing, accepting the quiet. It would feel like living on half a breath. And you'd rather choke on the noise, I murmur. It's not noise to me. I don't know what to say to that, so I don't say anything at all. I just stand there looking at him, trying to decide if this is the moment I start running, or the moment I stop. The studio's executive offices smell like money and fear. Fresh leather, polished wood, and too much perfume meant to hide the sweat of people betting their careers on a box office weekend. The walls are lined with framed posters of past hits, every one of them screaming we know how to sell a story. The director, Randall Pike, sits behind a desk the size of a small country. He's a man who built his brand on making stars and breaking them when it suited him. His smile is too wide as he looks at me and Seren like we're his latest special effects. Adrian, Seren, he says, as though we're old friends. I've got something that's going to make both of you very happy. I sit without being asked. Seren stays standing, one hand in his pocket, the other resting lightly on the back of my chair like we're posing for a magazine cover. Randall leans forward. We're booking you two for the night chair next month. I frown. That's the show where the host tries to make people cry on air. It's the show everyone watches, Randall corrects. And with your relationship, he gestures between us like he's presenting a gift basket, the ratings will be through the roof. We'll hint at an engagement, a little tension, a tearful moment. The works. No, I say immediately. Randall's eyebrows lift. Excuse me? I'm not staging a soap opera so you can sell more tickets. He chuckles like I'm being adorable. Adrian, you're an actor. You live for staged emotions. I live for acting, I correct. Not whatever this is. Beside me, Seren is silent, but I can feel the shift in him. His stillness is too precise, measured, deliberate. Randall glances at him. Talk to him, will you? This is perfect for your brand. Your brands. Public heat sells. And the heat between you two? He lets the sentence trail off, smirking like he knows something I don't. It's not about my brand, Seren says evenly. It's about Adrian's choice. That surprises both of us, I think. My choice is no, I say, standing. Randall's smile vanishes. Careful, Cole. You've got one hit left in you if you play it right. You walk away from this, you might not walk into another lead role. I'll take my chances. We leave the office without another word, but the real tension doesn't hit until we're in the press room down the hall, a bright, sterile space where they hold junkets and photo calls. Seren shuts the door behind us. You didn't even consider it, he says. Because it's not what I want. His jaw tightens. It's what we need. I turn to face him. No, it's what you need. The words hang there, heavier than they should be. His expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes does. Something sharp, almost wounded. You think I'm asking because I'm hungry, aren't you? That's not the only reason, he says, but it sounds thin even to him. I take a step closer, lowering my voice. You told me you could survive without it. The crowd, the attention. So prove it. Prove I'm more than a photo op to you. For a moment the only sound is the faint hum of the overhead lights. Seren's gaze drops to the floor, then back to mine, and I can see the war behind his eyes. Finally he says, if we skip the show I'll lose ground. The coverage will fade. People will look elsewhere. Then let them, I say. You don't have to be everywhere all the time. Yes, I do, he murmurs, almost to himself. We stand there in silence, the kind that feels like a fracture line. I know what this means for him, maybe more than he'll admit, and he knows what it means for me to refuse. This is where our arrangement stops being a strategy and starts being a choice. After a long moment he exhales. Fine. No show. I blink. Just like that? Just like that, he says, but the way his shoulders tense tells me the cost. We walk out together but not close. For the first time since we signed the contract, I'm not sure if we're playing the same game, or if we're still on the same side. Rain slicks the streets in silver ribbons, tapping against my apartment windows with the steady rhythm of a clock I'm trying not to hear. The city is blurred and quiet outside, muffled by the downpour. Inside, it's just me, the soft glow of a single lamp, and the low hum of music from a speaker on the bookshelf. I'm halfway through making dinner, Something easy, the kind of meal you can eat standing up, when there's a knock at the door. It's not loud, but it's urgent. When I open it, Seren is standing there, soaked through. His hair is darker from the rain, suit clinging to him in sharp lines, drops of water rolling down his cheekbones like the city's trying to hold on to him. "You're going to ruin my floor," I say automatically. He doesn't smile. "I came from a gala," he says, voice low. "Big crowd, cameras, exactly the kind of night I'm supposed to want." I lean on the doorframe. "And yet here you are." "I left," he says simply. "Because I realized I didn't care if they were looking. I cared that you weren't." The words hang between us, heavier than the rain. I step back, and he comes in, the scent of wet wool and his cologne following him. I hand him a towel from the hall closet, and he takes it, rubbing at his hair without looking away from me. "You don't make it easy," he says. "Good," I reply. "I'm not here to be easy." He tosses the towel over the back of a chair. "I chose you. Over what?" "Over them. Over all of it." He says it like it's both the simplest and the hardest truth. For a second, all I can do is stand there, feeling the quiet weight of it settle into my chest. The walls feel closer, warmer. The rain outside softens. Then he steps toward me, not the calculated slow approach he uses for cameras, but something different. Certain. His hand comes to my face, thumb brushing along my cheekbone, and before I can think, he's kissing me. It's not for show. There's no angle, no staging. Just the press of his mouth against mine, warm and steady, his other hand resting at my waist like he's been holding himself back for months, and finally stopped caring why. I kiss him back, and it feels like stepping out of a role I didn't know I'd been trapped in. No lights, no lens, no audience, just us. When we break apart, I'm a little out of breath. "So, does this mean we're off script?" He smiles, small but real. There's no script anymore. The rain is still falling outside, but in here it's quiet, like the city's finally given us space. He leans his forehead against mine, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I'm not wondering how it looks. I'm not even thinking about the contract, or the headlines, or the endless noise. I'm just here. And so is he. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I know the world will start spinning again tomorrow. The cameras will come back, the questions will follow, and maybe we'll have to navigate the chaos all over again. But right now, in the soft light of my apartment with rain tapping the windows, the game is over. And for once, I'm not losing. The morning is soft and pale, the kind of light that doesn't demand anything from you. From the balcony, the city stretches awake, horns in the distance, the faint rumble of trains, the chatter of early risers spilling onto sidewalks. We're above it all, wrapped in the thin, warm air that comes right before the day decides what it's going to be. Seren leans on the railing, a mug of coffee in his hand. He's traded last night's suit for a worn shirt and sweatpants that look almost too human on him. His hair is still damp from a shower, pushed back in a way that makes him look unguarded. "You know," he says, inhaling the steam from his cup, "I used to think I couldn't start the day without an audience. I sip my own coffee. And now? Now I just need this." He gestures between us with the mug. "Coffee and your morning complaints about how early it is." I roll my eyes. It's not complaining if it's true. He smiles slow and a little smug. "Fine. Your valid observations about the cruelty of sunrise. The breeze is gentle, carrying the smell of rain from the night before. Below, the traffic builds, but it feels far away, like it's happening in another version of the world. Do you miss it?" I ask after a moment. He doesn't pretend not to understand. "The crowd?" I nod. He takes a sip of coffee before answering. "Sometimes, but it's different now. I don't feel like I'm starving without it. That's good?" "It's you," he says simply. "You're loud enough in my head to keep me full." I laugh, shaking my head. Romantic and insulting. Impressive. We stand there for a while, leaning against the railing, watching the city move under the weight of its own stories. For once, neither of us is in them. No flashes, no headlines. Just a quiet corner where the world isn't looking. Seren sets his mug down and glances at me. You realize, of course, this means I'm now officially sustained by caffeine and your grumpy charm, which frankly is a dangerous diet. Dangerous for who? For anyone who tries to take it away. The way he says it makes something warm settle deep in my chest. I look out over the skyline, at the way the light hits the glass towers, at the moving specks of people who have no idea we're up here, choosing this instead of the noise. And I realize I'm not waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm not waiting for the glare to fade. I'm not afraid of the quiet anymore. I turn back to him, the words forming without hesitation, and for the first time in a long time I say, I'm not afraid of someone turning off the lights.